All right, folks, they have begun already. They're way too quick for me. This is UnSweet and PlutoTheBrave playing in their 2021 TAC Open tournament match with UnSweet as white and PlutoTheBrave as black. And if you haven't seen them before, UnSweet is a veteran player of over 5 years, recently came back into the game, always been very strong in terms of skill level. And PlutoTheBrave came in about 2.5 years ago, I'd say, and came in very strong recently, winning a Blitz tournament, or tying for first with NohatCoder, and then winning the Intermediate Invitational, and then doing very well in other tournaments as well. And Pluto is a strong, strong competitor, and I was lucky to split my 2 games against him. But he is having a little bit of a rough tournament right now. I believe he's in 11th place, and that's unexpected. Everyone expected him to do pretty well, probably top 6, top 5, something like that. So we do see the first capstone drop as UnSweet opens up a position here for Black's capstone to drop in a really nice area. And I'm surprised that UnSweet sort of set that up for him. And if we look at that, it's Black now who has this momentum, and White is trying to catch up. So I believe White kind of made a few mistakes there, giving up momentum and allowing Black to really take advantage there and take the initiative. White now trying to bring that back in their favor by playing up here, maybe going for that horizontal line now instead of the vertical that they were initially going for. Black now coming up with this capstone. This is able to come up onto this horizontal line if necessary and really just mess up a lot of White's plans. Now I would say Black should probably play over here at a5. This goes towards a vertical threat for Black and also cuts off White's horizontal. It seems sort of like the obvious move, but maybe he's going for something else that he is trying to think up at the moment. And we do also notice the amount of time taken per player here. So UnSweet has taken way under the allotted 15 seconds of increment per turn. But that means that you start with 15 minutes, you get 15 seconds per turn added to your score, and he has taken way less than that. This is a tack threat for White, moving d4 plus onto d5. I'm sure that Black is aware of that, does come up with the capstone to capture. Now this cuts off that immediate threat and also starts building towards a vertical line with that capstone. And if we look here, Pluto has played just over that 15-second average turn time here. It is a interesting position now. White playing up at c6, ready to probably come over onto d6 and make that tack threat yet again. And c6 right would require a capture over here, probably onto b5, would be my guess. And so even a b6 placement here from Black would help solidify that position and really make it so he can defend against this horizontal threat here at the top. Pluto taking more time trying to figure out what it is he wants to do in response. Drops a wall, a very, very defensive move here, but effectively cuts off everything that White wants to do in that top half of the board. White likely needs to shift gears here and maybe go for a vertical threat. I wouldn't mind an e4 placement here from White, trying to go for that vertical line. Already has something cutting off Black's vertical in this direction. Black would have to then place here at maybe d3 or over here at b3, and then White does have those flats to come over and cut that off. if necessary. So I'd say white switching to a vertical line here is probably the way to go, playing at e4 and then building straight down. White also still hasn't played a capstone, likely waiting for black to make some sort of flat-on-flat capture, so white can drop that capstone where that flat originated and then be able to be offensive with that capstone and also try to recapture the captured flat and liberate it, which is a very good idea of how to place a capstone and also how to place walls. Offensive walls are used in that way all the time, and we know Fwib, or Fwib, is a very strong proponent of those offensive walls. And since he is ranked #1 right now in this tournament, Fwib would be a good guy to listen to, I'd say. All right, white deciding to play here at a4. Now I understand that because that is going for this vertical line just the same as the e4 is, but also cutting off black's line to this left half of the board, stopping black from making a anchor point over here, maybe at a4. Now, if black does want to commit to some sort of horizontal line, black is going to have to place over here, maybe cut off at a3, and then we'll see white probably place at b3 and have the opportunity to come over and make those captures. So black does, in fact, go for the a3 placement, and white drops the capstone at b3. Very, very aggressive there with that capstone placement. And the reason I say that's aggressive is because black now could decide to place down here at d3 and go for the vertical line themselves and basically have a leg up on whatever white's doing. Black does have momentum here. So black can ignore white and force white to respond to black's own threats by placing here at d3. Looks like that's exactly what they're doing here. Not only does d3 help for that vertical threat, it also starts building towards that horizontal line. Again, just fortifying that position. Black can come up with a3 onto a4 and make that anchor point connection. And so white is thinking, uh-oh, now I've got to think about what to do about this. Now, I don't think white needs to be too worried at this point. I think white can play down here at b2 and keep going for this vertical direction, because white does have these flats up here to come across and cut off black's vertical line. So white doesn't need to worry about that vertical line at this point. White's got this capstone here to come up, or a4 to come right, to go for this vertical, and I think that's what white needs to do. Focus on the vertical, don't worry about black's horizontal at all at this point. You've got that covered with a c6 right capture. So not only does c6 right cut off this vertical line, it also makes attack threat, forces black to respond. See, this is where I think white is playing a little too defensive by playing here at d2. White probably should have started playing for their own threat and forced black to make some less optimal moves. Playing at b2 would have done that. Playing at b1 would have been nice as well. d2 isn't too bad though. It does force black to move around, but black can just move off to the side and while going for the vertical, also go for the horizontal. And so you're kind of forcing yourself into a position where you have to make those captures, and that is not what you want to be doing as white. You want to force your opponent to make the captures. It really doesn't matter what color you are, you always want your opponent to be forced into making these flat-on-flat captures that are suboptimal. And black playing here at e2, I don't really understand this move that much. I would understand playing at e3 since it does go for both of those lines. But e2 I feel like just misses the mark a little bit there. Not exactly what I would expect. All right, white now trying to come up with what to do. I think white should be playing at b2 at this position. Again, if black does play at e3, you've got c6 to come right and cut off that whole vertical threat and also make your own horizontal one. It would basically force black to come down with this wall onto b5. And while that's not ideal for this vertical threat that you're building, it still forces some captures and makes black make moves that they don't want to make. And then you are justified in coming up maybe with this capstone onto b4 to then maybe smash that wall on b5. That could also be viable. There's a lot of different directions this game could go. Both players starting to slow down their play and take their time. We see UnSweet down to 13 minutes and PlutoTheBrave down to 12 and a half. It is fairly early in the game though, so a lot can happen. Only 13 moves in. Both very strong players, and I think we're going to be seeing right about now, I believe, is where we're going to start seeing a lot of things shift and change. So I'd say currently black does have an advantage over white, but it's very, very slim in terms of positioning. But black does have a... I mean, I don't like D1 as much as I would have liked maybe B2, but I understand it. I think black does have a flat count advantage, but I'm not sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, but there is the 2 Comey, so black has +2, so it is 11 to 11 right now, with black being able to place a flat now and make the threat and get ahead on flats. White immediately made that C6 right capture. Black comes down with that wall. Now, this is where I'm interested to see what white does here. If white comes up with the capstone, black could just fill in and make that tack threat that they've been going for right here for the horizontal line. Now, black is in a very solid position, I'd say. And this is where white giving up that momentum earlier in the game, when they could have been placing for this vertical road, they instead pushed black out and got them to play over to the side better for a horizontal threat. And so now white's in a bit of a predicament, kind of back themselves into a corner by playing too defensive. So I would not be surprised here to see maybe an E3 placement or an F2 placement, or F3 or F2 placement here from black, because that would be a tack threat in the horizontal direction. Or even a B3 placement would also be a tack threat. Does go for the B3 placement. This is a horizontal tack threat. Does require a capture from white in order to stop this. Probably a C5 minus. If I'm going to say anything, D2 plus does work, but then an immediate E4 placement renews it. So it's looking pretty precarious for white right now. Oh, and white missed the tack threat altogether and places up top. This is a win for black. Black takes the road here by placing either at F3 or F2. Does decide to place at F3 and wins with a road in game 1. So game 1 goes to PlutoTheBrave as black, and we'll see how game 2 goes when they set up for that one. I think that was a little unexpected to see white miss that road. It is a little easy to miss because it does wrap around that capstone, so I understand missing that, but had plenty of time on the clock. Not that I should be one to talk in terms of having too much time on your clock and still making a terrible mistake. I've definitely done that, as we've seen in my previous games in this tournament and plenty of other times. It does happen. So anyone can miss a tack threat, even top players like UnSweet and PlutoTheBrave. Anyway, let's get right on in to game 2. All right, this is game 2 of PlutoTheBrave versus UnSweet. Pluto as white and UnSweet as black. And we see the first placements, adjacent corners. And will we see a knight's opening? We will not. We will see the center control opening. Will we see mirrored opening with c3? We will indeed. Let's see how things go. I'm assuming a d4 placement here for white to keep that momentum. And that was one thing that was missing in last game. UnSweet playing as white, he basically gave up momentum very, very early in the game and was playing on the back foot in terms of momentum and flats from the very beginning because of that flat comey that we get as black. So white now playing out. This is where we're going to see probably an e4 placement. And this is where black needs to probably drop a capstone over here if we're going to follow the normal patterns of this. And white shifts gears. Going for that vertical line now. Black now going with. We'll see how this turns out. Definitely building a mirror here. Black building above to cut off this vertical line. White can still place here for a horizontal threat, can place up above to go for maybe something more vertical. Can place off to the side. I like f4 here for a few reasons. f4 is nice because it makes that horizontal threat, but also is able to build around this e5 flat to go for that vertical. So it's not too bad of a position for white's flat here, is f4. But plenty of solid options. White still has not dropped the capstone as of yet. May decide to do something tricky. I'm thinking of something bizarre and probably terrible. Ooh, decides to go for the f5, which is interesting. I guess they didn't want to make that tack threat and force the capstone to come down just yet. But this does open up f4 for black to place. So I do find that fascinating. Black does decide to place there at f4. Now, will we see an e1 from white, or maybe an f6 from white? A lot of different setup moves. Still, no capstone from white, and no good place to place it at this point. UnSweet probably taking a little more time this game, as we can tell. He's under 16 minutes now at 9 turns in. Playing a little slower, starting to take his time. Doesn't want to lose on a missed threat like he did in the previous game. That would not be ideal, that's for sure. White's capstone did drop there at c2. That's a solid position for defensive because it can come up or right. It's a good defensive capstone. White wanted to get that down before it was too far into the game, and I understand that. I understand the hesitancy to not drop that soon. And so placing it in a very defensive position makes sense, but now it gives black the opportunity to start building his position out a little bit more. Going for that horizontal line. Now white coming up here, not a threat yet, but it was close to one. Black comes down and white immediately comes back up. They're cutting off each other's lines. So black cut off the vertical and horizontal line at the same time with that black capstone moving down, and white decided to cut off this horizontal line here by coming up with that capstone and also building towards this vertical line themselves. Black also has momentum in terms of the vertical direction. Black is playing down at d1, keeping that momentum, forcing white to make some sort of suboptimal move. This is not a tack threat yet, but it is close to one. Sure, the tack threat can be easily cut off, but white still wants to avoid captures when possible. That is something that is a little counterintuitive to a lot of players who first started playing TAC. They think, okay, got to make these captures, because they've come from so many other different games where capturing is, of course, the norm. But capturing in TAC, while it can be really good, can also create a lot of liabilities for you later on in the game, when those stacks can get recaptured, and then those stacks become very, very powerful pieces going on. So if you want to take a little bit closer look at how captures affect those games, you can check out the captures video of TAC University. All right, so Black did decide to make that C3 placement there to make that TAC threat, or was it D3? What was it? It was D5, yeah, that's right, D5. And then White came over with that capstone to cut that off. Black fills in, which I understand because it cuts White off from connecting up there for the vertical and horizontal threats. So I do get that. I could see White maybe placing an F3 here. That makes a lot of sense to me. Black maybe wanting to move down into B2 to maybe make a connection down here at B1 or A2. And that way they can capture over with a capstone onto C4 to make a vertical threat here. Or play over here at A3 and then A2, and that way A3 can build towards a horizontal threat as well, a little bit sooner. A3 and then F4 plus, and that's a horizontal threat with Black's capstone coming over onto C4 also, or C5 coming down. So I'd say Black is in a pretty solid position right now, but it is fairly even. Now that White played at B2, I think that Black's A3 makes a lot of sense here. White likely wanting to place at A5 or B6 on the next turn so that they can go for their own vertical tack threats, whether it be at E1, C1, or B1. Any of those would be a tack threat in the vertical direction. Or playing at F3 or F2 would be a horizontal threat. Again, making a capture onto this C3 position, likely from C2 or from C4. So lots of opportunities for both players to make threats, and this is right here, I guess on turn 14, this is where things are really going to start tumbling, is how I think of it. Is one player is going to force something to happen, and then we're going to see a lot of different captures and different counterplays, captures, walls, something like that, to really change this position of the board. And someone's going to come out on top of a scramble is basically what's going to happen here. Either that or someone's going to miss a tack threat and just lose right away. I don't think that's going to happen. These are two really strong players, and we saw that happen in the previous game, so they're both on guard for that and really not looking forward to it. So I imagine they are trying their best to keep an eye out for every single threat that is possible at this point. And that's why Black took so long to play there, didn't want to lose to an early threat like before. Playing here at A2, I'm not sure that I agree with that move quite as much as an A3. Would have been much better here. A2 really doesn't advance the position nearly as much as A3. Now, White, I don't believe White has momentum, do they? Okay, let's see. White plays A5, not a tack threat. Then Black plays A3, not a tack threat. White, yeah, so White does have momentum now because of this A2 placement. If Black had played at A3, Black would have had momentum, and White would have needed to respond to what Black did. So this is where things might go really well for white. If white plays up here at a5, I'd say that's probably the best play, but decides to play at a3 instead. And yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. White had momentum. May still have momentum, though. I think white still does have momentum, so that's nice. All right. What should black be doing here? A black placement here at a4 I don't think is very good. This is actually a tough spot now for black. Doesn't want to make any captures. A wall might be best at a4 to come over onto b4, but I don't like playing walls where I'm not able to capture onto a stack to liberate a captive. It just feels like a dead move. But let's take a look at the flat count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 for white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus 2 for black, so 12. Goel just says he's looking at e1 on next turn for white to build for this vertical on the both corners. And I do get that. But because of c5, being able to come left, that corner placement isn't that great. And I think an a5 or b6 would be better for white because you've got options for this flat to come up, the capstone to come over, this flat to come over, all these different options to make this connection on this vertical line here in this area to basically build for a citadel, which is a really, really strong formation. And you don't have to worry about just dropping something on e1 here. You've got a lot of other options. And I think that makes that a little stronger than playing at e1 because a lot of times these corner connections are really, really strong because you won't be able to place it either of these spots. But c5 is here to just come left onto b6 and cut it off right away. Black definitely taking his time on this turn. a4 might be okay. And this is where I think a couple turns ago here, when black played at a2, should have been a3. Black playing at a3 would have given him a attack threat on the following turn. And white would have had to respond to that. And then white would have had momentum after this a2 if white had played up at a5. But this is a pretty tricky position. Playing here at a3 still retains white's momentum, I'd say. So not a bad decision. It's also caused UnSweet to really think about this next move and have trouble figuring out what to play. So making him burn down that time also works. Okay, he did decide to finally play at a4. And I still like a5 or b6 from white here. Both of them look nice to me. I think a5 looks better. Because, let's see, a5, and then if black captures down with a4, white can still capture up to make that threat in two directions, both at e3, f2, and e1. And so forcing captures up there at the top left. Yeah, I still say a5 is probably the best move here that I can see. Goes for a C. Hold on. Plays a5, then we get the c5 minus. So a5, like I said, c5 minus. Not attack threat from black. Will white come over with a3? I think white coming over with a3 is good. I like that position. It can be cut off with a capture on b4 here. But I'm not too worried about it. Just place it a4 next. Yeah, I'm okay with that, I think. I thought briefly about throwing the capstone over to b3, but no, I don't like that one nearly as much. Or, no, never mind. I mean, I guess b4 left could work, but it's not attack threat. Yeah, I think I like a3 right the most. And again, this is where things are starting to sort of tumble, and they snowball a little bit in where things start to change a lot. e4 right instead. Okay. All right. What? Did I miss something here? Okay, so c5 minus, and then he played, okay, he played at b1 for the attack threat, and then we got a really quick b3 plus for a black tag threat, and then we got the e4 right. Okay, I missed like a move. I need to pay attention, I guess. All right, so I want to look at these two moves again. So b1, I get that, and I like it. It is attack threat in the vertical direction. And then we immediately got the b3 plus like I expected for that horizontal threat. Now an e4 right. Black playing at f6 works for me. Black playing at e6 works for me. Now I like e6 for a couple reasons. e6 because it makes this horizontal threat, but then white can play at f6, which builds towards this vertical threat on this side of the board. Black does have momentum and can play here at b3 for the threat that white has to respond to. There's a lot of moves here. There's way too many to really cover all of them, and to see what the advantages and disadvantages to each of them are. There's just way too many, and so I do not envy UnSweet or Pluto thinking about all the different options they have right now to play and come up with where they're going next. I do really like these two moves, f6 and e6. I like them both. If I were black, Black has the flat count advantage right now, so f6 being more defensive makes sense to me, and it works. I would go with f6 here. Yeah, f6 would be my move if I were black because of the flat count advantage. If I didn't have flat count advantage here as black, say if there were no Comey, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, if I didn't have Comey here as black, I would have played at e6 like he did. But with Comey, I definitely would have played here at f6. So he is going for the slightly more aggressive approach here, and I commend him for that. Now we see the f6 played to stop that horizontal threat. Now will we see b3 from black to make that vertical threat happen? Or will we see potentially an a4 minus to make that vertical threat happen? That would also be good, but I like placing the flat a little bit better because, I mean, more flats, more better, right? More flats, more better, because you get more flats on the board, you're closer to ending the game, and you increase your flat count and don't create more liabilities. So he does decide to go for that move, places the b3. This is a vertical attack threat for black. White must respond in some way with a capture. There has to be a capture here to stop this because there's no place for white to place a wall or anything like that to block it. So white must capture here, and there's only a few moves that can do it. Capturing up here or capturing up here, we'll cut that off immediately. And capturing up with b2, I guess, would also work, but I don't like that move at all. And as Goel just said, e6. This also does pin Pluto's cap, so white can't move left or right without causing a win for black now that e6 is placed. So that is also important to note. Yeah, b3 I'd say was the better move here. White's got to make some captures down below. If white captures onto a1, I see a2 coming right, and then that's another attack threat by placing it b1 or by capturing over onto c2. And then c2 can't come left because that would lead to that being placed. Yeah, this is a really, really tricky position for white. I think white needs to come over with f6. Or down with a3. a3 minus, yeah, a3 minus is the move here. a3 minus works for a couple reasons, and these are why. a3 minus cuts off this threat from being vertical. This can't come over right. Also, this now works towards this horizontal threat that white has been building. Now, if black doesn't immediately counter with maybe an a1 plus, white can play here at f3, and then boom, white now has a dual threat that can't be stopped in any way, and that's Tinue. So a3 minus is the best bet here, and then if black doesn't respond in the right way to that a3 minus move, white can win on the next turn. So yeah, so I would say a3 minus. Yep, a3 minus is the move here. We'll see if Gawelja and Pluto agree with me. Gawelja in the chat here. And Pluto playing. We'll see what he plays. I really do like a3 minus. I think that's his best bet for winning this game. He's on the back foot here. His position is a little more spread out. It's not as centralized as black's. He's got his capstone pinned. He's not in a great spot here, but this works. And it might be enough to take him to a better position. Even if a1 does come up afterwards, b2 left doesn't lose and sets them up to make a positive flat count differential move. Black might wall at a3 if that happens, but if black walls at a3, then white plays here. And I don't see that being a problem. Even if a1 comes up, playing at f3 is good. Actually, hold on a second. I think a3 might be so good as to being winning no matter what, but I need to make sure about that. I got disconnected. Okay, good. We didn't miss a move from from Pluto there. So let's try and pull up. Ooh, he made a5 minus. He didn't go for the a3 minus. But I am very, very curious about that a3 minus move. You can see that Pluto took a ton of time, several minutes on that move alone. Trying to make sure he was making the right one. Okay, so let's very quickly look at what I was talking about. a3 minus. So a3 minus, not attack threat here, but black can make one, I guess, if he does d2 left, but that's probably not what's going to happen. It's probably going to be an a2 plus. a2 plus happens, that's attack threat. Then you get that move. And then black maybe drops a wall here. White plays for the vertical tag threat. I don't know. It's not forced, but I think it's still better than the a5 minus that was played. Wrong windows. Okay. a5 minus was played. Still no response from UnSweet. Well, just saying he likes b3 minus here for black. And yeah, I see that because b3 minus, that's attack threat by placing at a2, by a1 right, and by 2b2 right. All of those are attack threats. So that makes sense. Or wait, I was thinking of a2 right. b3 minus would be placing at b3. Maybe a2 right works out too. Not sure. There are just so many things that could happen right now, and both players are running out their clocks, and that can be dangerous. UnSweet down to 3.5 minutes. Pluto down to 5.5. Let's take a look at that flat count once again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 for black. Plus 2 is 13. Ooh. Still 13 with that capture. This is a vertical tack threat. Ooh, I like that move. All right, this is why this move is really fun. So b4 left captures over and makes this stack, which can make a positive flat count differential move, right? Right, it can. But the move that you would want to make as white is capture up onto a4 and liberate those captives, make this really strong stack. But you can't, because if you move a3 up, black places at a3 and then wins with a road. So you've got to do something else to keep from losing here. If you make an f6 left move, black plays again at d6. Then you'd have to play 2f6 left. So he goes for the a3 right. This is where I think we'll see b4 be played. Wait, will b4? No. Maybe a3? So b4, he does go for the b4. It's not a tack threat for either player here. White can drop a wall at a3. And if white drops a wall at a3, then black takes this stack and probably throws it up, spreading, dropping 1 and then dropping 3 to make a +2 move. Oh, it looks like that's what Goel just said as well. And I mean, if I'm white, so black is going to play here, so he needs to wall at a3, because this is a attack threat for black. e6 down here. So yeah, walls at a3. And this is where we're likely to see this get thrown upwards for the spread and to keep away from this wall. And then at that point, white's probably going to play here at f3. f3 makes a lot of sense to me for that move. UnSweet down to 2.5 minutes now. Gotta be careful. Becomes, ooh. Okay, this is also a tack threat. I will point that out. This is also a tack threat. Black spreading this stack down, dropping 1 and then dropping 1. That does connect e6 all the way down to a1. That is tricky. I am surprised he made that move. Oh, actually, I am not surprised he made that move. UnSweet is a player that from a different age, and he has never liked winning by flats. And he doesn't like flat wins and never really goes for them unless there is absolutely no other choice. So he will always go for a road, which causes him to lose when he often should win sometimes. And so in this position, white can come down and capture, then black recaptures, white can come up and capture, and white will win. Wait. White comes down, black comes over, white comes up, black comes over. Black will win the capture war, but will not be able to make a threat after he's won that stack. And then white will be forced to either drop another wall or move the wall to be able to capture onto that stack. And the wall would likely be placed here at b3 to protect these down here. Now, it is easy to miss this threat, but I doubt Pluto is missing it, as he's taking a lot of time on this turn, so he's probably seen it. He's trying to figure out how to combat this. He knows he'll lose the attack threat, or the capture war here. So he may decide to move his own wall over onto b3, which would stop the attack threat. This is a tough one. It is a tough one. Pluto now down to 1.5 minutes on the clock. Ooh, interestingly, he moves the wall down. That was not what I expected at all. Not what I expected at all. Now, it's tempting to just make this positive flag on differential move, at least for those of us who will go for flat wins, unlike UnSweet. But you definitely don't want to make that yet, because if you make it now, white uses this wall stack to come over and then retakes and liberates those captives. And that is not what you want. Let's see what we get here from UnSweet. He's down to 1.5 minutes now on his clock as well. Goes for the C1 placement. This is another road threat. White comes down with the capstone. Now, it is important to note that black is no longer pinning white's capstone. White is not making a attack threat, but can make a dual threat and attenuate on the next turn by placing it F3. Black needs to be aware of that and make some sort of concession here to stop the F3 placement, whether that be a wall at F3 or something. Needs to stop that for sure. Okay, black recognizes that that's going to be attenuate if he doesn't do something about it. White places there at F3 anyway. Black making just one capture. Interesting. Doesn't go for the full spread. Probably to keep this wall from taking it. That's a smart move there. But UnSweet down to under 1 minute on the clock. And white is now in the driver's seat. Can make a threat by placing up at E6. That would be attack threat. Ooh, he takes the A3 stack, moves it over, ready to come up and capture with this wall stack. Smart move here. This is a good way to get some flats back and to stop black from making any sort of threats with these flats here. Good option. Good option there. I like that move. That's a solid move. Now, what do you do as black here? Make your threat. And now this is where white comes up with this stack, captures onto b3 and b4. Liberating captives. And making a +3 flat count differential move. And cutting off the threat. He's got to make sure that this wouldn't give him a loss, so he's making sure to count carefully and see all the different avenues that black could be making a threat here. Decides it is indeed safe to make that move. Tricky, tricky position. Black dropping a wall. Now this might be interesting to drop a flat at A2, so black's wall can't capture upwards, or it would lose. I like that. Making this sort of trapping motion. A1 plus would come up, but it's still fun to do, and you can run out your flats. So A1 is placed, or A2 is placed. A1 plus is probably coming next. No. Okay. Not attack threat for black, but he does capture this big stack before this wall stack can come get it. A3 would be attack threat here. Now that we've got these stacks moving, things are getting nuts, and there's very little time on the clock. 22 seconds now for UnSweet, under a minute for PlutoTheBrave. This is attack threat for white, capturing over with the top two pieces from B3 onto C3 would be a road. Black needs to do something about that. They can come over, capturing left with this black flat, or they can come down with their own capstone, creating a attack threat of their own. This is where I think we may see white bring over this stack, at least some of it, I'd say, but then you'll see, ooh, white bringing over the wall stack instead, not what we expected. Black can make this positive flat count differential move here now, and that is probably what they want to do, but they're not going to do it. Black doesn't really care for flat count, apparently, as we've been shown time and time again. I think that this move here coming over would have been the move here for black. It would have kept this stack out of this white wall's clutches, and it would have been a really strong flat count differential move. But black's not worried about that. Comes up with that wall stack first. Then comes down. Was it a attack threat that I wasn't seeing? No, there was no attack threat here. Not that I'm aware of, at least. Okay, so black comes down again, just giving away flats to white's wall stack. Black is pressed for time though, so it makes sense that black is making some suboptimal moves here. Let's take a look at the flat count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So +2 is 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 now till I think 9. Is what that is. Yeah, so it's 12 to 9 in terms of flat count. White is in the lead. White should just be trying to get all these flats down as soon as they can because they are running quickly out of time here. And, ooh, black may want to be smashing this stack soon, so white wants to come up with some sort of insurance policy if they do smash that stack, what to do about it. Coming down to the wire, just 7 seconds left on the clock. Now PlutoTheBrave up at 20 seconds. Made this flat count move to get this stack away from black's capstone. Black coming up with that wall. Pluto now the lowest on time at 15 seconds left on the clock. He's got to make his moves quickly. No time to count the flats and make sure that he's ahead, which he in fact is. makes a placement at A4, trying to go for this vertical threat while also just getting those flats down, also potentially going for this horizontal threat at the same time. This is where I think we'd like to see maybe a B2 placement. Or maybe an A5 placement. A5 also works as well. We saw the C2 from Black. Okay, A5, this is a vertical road threat. Black's going to bring that capstone or that wall stack over. Now there's no hope for a vertical threat from that direction now from White. White's going to have to do something else. They won't be able to just play flats forever. Black will be making attack threat here pretty soon, I'm sure. Dropping a flat, I think on B2 works. Black is going to make a threat now by placing it D4. This is where, after the D4 placement, White's capstone is going to have to come left. This is why I thought B2 would have been a good placement. Oh, didn't go for that. Instead, White is now able to just play here at D4 to stop that threat. But if D4 is played to stop that threat, no, he wouldn't have been able to do that. Yeah, I should have just played at D4. I think that would have worked. Unless I'm mistaken. Yeah, D4 would have stopped it, and he wouldn't have been able to smash that. That would have led to a road for him. So we do see this capstone come over, and then D4 gets played from Black, ready to come down and keep making those threats. F5 plus happens. White trying to do some work over there, then just fills in instead of recapturing. That's an odd move. I'm not really sure what he was going for with that, because now F6 can come down, capture. Now F5 can come back up and recapture. It looks like now the Black wall is coming out, ready to come down and make that positive flat count differential move. White now making attack threat in the horizontal direction. Black is going to have to do something here, either by moving this wall stack down, which would work. Okay, is White now going to take this whole stack, drop all the Black flats here onto B2 and smash this wall? That is a possibility. He definitely could do that, though it would lead to a loss for him, I think. White's going to move that White stack over to the left. Okay, Black now coming down with that wall, ready to make another positive flat count differential move. White can place up here at C6 and make another attack threat, except Black has attack threat here by placing. White comes up with the capstone to stop that attack threat in that horizontal direction. Black is now free to smash... Oh, no, he's not free to smash... Yeah, he is free to smash this. Nope, he's not free to smash that. Never mind. Black smashing this wall would lead to White spreading out and creating a connection to F3 in the horizontal direction. Black now making their own flat placement here, trying to work on that horizontal threat themselves. Though I think that now that they've got a little bit more time on the clock, Pluto's at 45 seconds now, UnSweet at a minute and a half. They've played that increment really well, able to save a little bit of time here. White now has that attack threat in the horizontal direction after placing up there at F6. Black can just stop that by placing here at C6, or can do a number of other options. I say placing a wall here at C6 or a flat there would work very well. Instead, we're going to see Black throw that wall stack upwards, dropping a flat on F5 and dropping that wall stack there on F6. Now, White doesn't really have any option to make that attack threat in that direction. Let's see, what can they do? We may see White come over, maybe capture onto this A3 spot. That is a possibility. Yep, and that's exactly what they did. They did come over with that stack onto A3. This is not attack threat, however. That is important to note. We do see a very tall stack here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they can move this over, but they have to leave behind these 2 white flats at the very least. They can't leave behind any fewer than that. And Black knows that White can't smash this wall. White can play here at b2 on the next turn. That's probably what they're going for. Black may want to throw this stack downwards onto b2 and b1, and that's exactly what they do. Black probably wanting to maybe place at c2 next, or maybe at c3 to make their attack threat. c3 looks pretty good to me. White comes over. That doesn't really do much. So look at the flat count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 for white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Plus 2 is 12 for black. Black now also has attack threat. I think this is 6 pieces, so he can bring that entire stack over onto c3. But after that, he's got to leave behind a black flat if he wants to move this capstone at all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so he has to leave behind at least one black flat if he wants to move this capstone any more times. And who's going to run out of flats first? We see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reserves from black. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 reserves from white. Black is to play. Black can run this out quicker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 12 flat count for black. I'd say black, if I'm you, I'm going to want to throw this stack down maybe onto f4 and f3. Instead goes for the placement. White not able to make any threat right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 for white. Black needs to make this +3 move here. What was that? Hold on. Okay, so he wanted this stack. I get that, but he had enough moves, enough positive flat count differential moves without that move to come out on top in terms of flat count and end the game early. So we do know that UnSweet is not very familiar with winning flat games since he never plays for flats. And so now I think he's resigned himself to the fact that he's got to play for flats at this point in the game. This is a last-ditch effort, I guess, for white to make a attack threat. Black cuts that off with the f5 stack with a +2 positive flat count differential move. Black down to 3 reserves. White down to 5 reserves. Black is going to be able to determine when this game ends, and I can't see any way that white wins this unless black misses the road here, which is definitely possible. Black can just take this wall stack and bring it up to stop that, or can bring... No, bringing that down wouldn't stop it. Yeah, bring the wall stack up, I'd say, is the move to make here. Ooh, decides to take the big stack throw with the wall stack. That also works. Nice move there, especially with so little time on the clock. I think he had 10 seconds left or 9 seconds left in order to pull that thing off. So well done to him. Is this attack threat at all for white? Yes, it is. White can throw this E1 stack all the way over here to C1. This is going to be very easy for black to miss here, and black's got to be careful. I think we very well could see this win. Black is down to 1 second left. Gonna lose on time. Ooh. And misses the road threat. E1 is going to come left onto C1 for the win. White's going to take game 2. PlutoTheBrave will have won both games unless he doesn't see this move. Did he not see the move? He's got 30 seconds left on the clock. He may not see it. He may not have time to see his own road threat here. Could this be it? No, I was disconnected. No. No. What's happening? No, what happened? I don't know what happened. Why? Why did you have to disconnect right away? Now we have to go see the history. Where are you? Where are you? That's not fair. It looks like Pluto won with a road. Let's find out. That's not okay. Why did I disconnect at the very last second? I believe White did make that E1 throw for the road. So let's see if that's what happened. Yes, it is what happened. So Black took that wall stack, moved it to E2, and then White took that E1 all the way over for the throw and for the road win. Wow, what a game. That was a lot of fun. Black had that at the end, but in terms of flat game win and that sort of thing, but the time got the best of him, and that happens to all of us, really. Time is a killer. I know that he was down to just a few seconds left on the clock. He had 1 second left on the clock when he made this wall stack move, so definitely crunched for time there. But well played to both players. That was an epic match. Congratulations to Pluto for winning both of those. And that is all for today. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out the description below for all things TAC, especially the Discord server, which is where you can find people to play with online, whether it be through PlayTAC itself or right through the Discord server itself in asynchronous or correspondence games, where you can play just one move a day if you want to. And lots of other TAC resources right there in the Discord. You can find strategy guides, you can find pictures and build guides of homemade TAC sets and just beautiful boards. Fantastic stuff. There are some excellent TAC material right there on that Discord. Be sure to check that out. And anyway, that is all. Thanks for watching, and until next time, have a great day and happy tacking.